When you buy a home, you'll have to pay closing costs. These are fees associated with the purchase of the home, such as appraisal fees, inspection fees, title insurance, and possibly mortgage origination fee. Closing costs can add up, and they can be a major financial burden for home buyers. Who pays closing costs then? In general, the buyer pays the closing costs. However, there are some exceptions. For example, the seller may agree to pay some or all of the buyer's closing costs as a seller concession. This is something that you can negotiate with the seller when you're making an offer on a home. Each loan has a different amount of concessions that is allowed. So how much are closing costs? The amount of closing costs you'll pay will vary depending on the price of the home and the type of mortgage you get. However, you can expect to pay between 2 and 5% of the purchase price of the home in closing costs. For example, if you buy a home for $250,000, you can expect to pay between $5,000 and around about $12,500 in closing costs. So how can you reduce these closing costs? There are a few things you can do to reduce your closing costs. Shop around for a mortgage lender. Different lenders charge different fees, so it's important to compare rates and fees before you choose a lender. Obviously, mortgage brokers have the lowest fees and rates. Ask the seller for seller concessions. As mentioned prior, the seller may be willing to pay some or all of your closing costs as a seller concession. Government-backed mortgages, such as FHA loans and VA loans, often have lower closing costs than conventional mortgages. Closing costs can be a major financial burden for home buyers. However, there are a few things you can do to reduce your closing costs. By shopping around for a mortgage lender, asking the seller for seller concessions, and considering a government-backed mortgage, you can save money on your closing costs and make home ownership more affordable. So, what to do next? Call me, Damian Power, with English Cowboy Mortgage at 832-567-8493 and let me help you with your home loan.